Well, welcome back. Woodstock Guitar Guy. We're here on a beautiful late spring day with a very interesting guitar, not a spring chicken. This is about a 50-year-old guitar that I've been wanting since I was a kid, if you can believe that. I grew up in Vermont, and these were the local, hand-built by the local luthier guitars, and they were sought after. They were very hard to come by. He didn't build a lot of them at that point in his career, and they were expensive. I couldn't afford one, but I used to go to the music store and play them, and kind of like ogle them and dream about owning one, dream about it, you know. And here I am, 50 years later, and this literally fell into my lap. It is a Gurian guitar built by a fellow named Michael Gurian. Long story, he started out on Grand Street in New York, building a few classical guitars. At some point, he started getting into more conventional styles and moved up to New Hampshire, where he had a factory in Hinsdale, across the river from Brattleboro. I'm from Bellas Falls, so you know Brattleboro was just down the road, and we could go down to the music store down there, and there were two of them, I think, at that time. And one of them had the Gurians, and they were right up there with the Martins and the Gibsons. I tell you, completely out of reach. I mean, I couldn't touch them financially, and so he built some really nice guitars, including this one, which is a JM. It's a jumbo mahogany. It's got spruce top, mahogany back and sides, mahogany neck. It's got Schaller tuners from Germany. Looks like a rosewood bridge. I'm going to guess it's an ebony, but it could be rosewood. Fretboard. Frets are beautiful. They're not the tiny frets. They're the normal size, like that I like. And this particular guitar is I would consider it to be very good condition. It's got a couple of little tiny things going on with it, with the finish. There's a little bit of a belt rub on the back. There might be a little bit of what they call case burn. I don't know. I don't really care. I just know that it sounds fantastic. And I will also say it was not cheap. This was not a cheap guitar. This is not a budget guitar. But I will say this. It's a lot less than a 50-year-old Martin these days, or a 50-year-old Gibson for that matter. And by less than half. So I want to give a shout out to the store where I picked this up. It's called Retro Music. It's in Keene, New Hampshire, and so this Gurian has probably been floating around the valley, the Connecticut River Valley, for 50 years. Probably never went far from the factory in Hinsdale. He had a fire at one point in Hinsdale after this guitar was built, and he lost about 200 and something guitars in the fire that were finished, and plus all of his stock of exotic wood and everything. He kind of rebuilt and built another place, another shop in Swansea, New Hampshire, for a couple of years, and then he packed it in the kind of like the mid to late 80s. The number of guitars he produced was, according to Wikipedia, is around 5,000 guitars, minus the couple hundred that he lost in the fire. And so this is one of them, built in Hinsdale before the fire. And the thing about this guitar that, aside from the tone, which is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful all the way across, you know, everything is balanced, completely balanced, plays like a dream, a little dreamy guitar playing, you know. For an acoustic, it doesn't get any better than this, folks. I gotta tell you. Except for maybe that $135 Guitar Fetish guitar, which plays very, very well too. But this is a totally different league in terms of guitar. It has a like a soft V neck. But what's interesting about this neck is that the V, and I've never seen this on another guitar, maybe I'm missing something, but the V is kind of offset a little bit. You know, it's not like, it doesn't feel like it's straight down the middle. And there seems to be a taper as you go up. You know, it kind of disappears when you get up around 10th fret. So it's really contoured on the back of the neck to fit your hand, and especially a small-handed guy like me, I can actually even, look at that, I can get my thumb over the top. Now, I cannot get my thumb over the top of a lot of guitars. I just can't do it. But this neck is letting me do that. And this is going to open up a lot of possibilities for me that I've never been able to explore on the acoustic guitar, bringing the thumb over. Now, if you watch pictures of George Harrison with the Beatles, the original Beatles, you'll notice that, you know, he first of all, he's got huge hands. His fingers are about almost twice as long as mine. And he brings that thumb over. He can practically do an A chord just with his thumb. So it's worth checking out. There's a whole other style of playing when you start to bring that thumb across the top. The other thing about this guitar that is very different is that he had a proprietary or his own version of attaching the neck to the body. And I know it has a truss rod. I know the neck has a truss rod. I'm still looking for it. I haven't found it yet. It's in here somewhere. The nut is in here somewhere. I have not been able to locate it. It's hiding behind a brace or something like that. But he attached the necks by using a kind of a mortise and tenon style of attachment. It wasn't like what do they call those, dovetail? It wasn't a dovetail joint, I don't believe. And he kind of put these pegs in there and glued the whole thing up. You can still see really old glue that kind of ran out down in here. Maybe this was B-stock, you know, back in the day. I really don't know. But the luthiers complain about this resetting the necks on these guitars. They complain that it's very difficult to do, and they hate it. Fortunately, if this one, I don't believe it's ever been reset, but it clearly doesn't need it. It plays beautifully all the way up the neck, and you know, I'm not touching this guy. This is staying exactly the way it came. He's got, looks like bone. It looks like bone. It doesn't feel like bone saddle. I don't know. It could be plastic. I find it hard to believe that it would be. I have not taken the strings off this thing yet. This is exactly how it came from Retro Music in Keene, New Hampshire. The nut, I believe, is bone, but they're polished up, which you rarely see. They're really shiny. They're really polished up. So if I want to really dig deep into this guitar, I'm going to take it to somebody. I'm not going to mess around with it myself because I'll mess around with the cheap guitars all day long and have a great time. But something like this, I would take it to a bona fide luthier who works on old vintage guitars exclusively and ask them. And I have one here in Woodstock, by the way. And her name is Lynn, and she's wonderful if she's still in biz. And I would take it to an actual luthier to have them, scope out the saddle on the bridge and the nut, just to make sure they're bone. Nothing has to be reset. It is came with a case, and I have an arrangement with Retro Music, which has worked very well, I think, for both of us, and that is that I've got cast-offs here. I've got guitars and some amplifiers and stuff that I basically brought them in, tried them out. They didn't really do it for me, so I try to move them on, and I take them up to Retro Music, and he's generous enough to take the less expensive stuff too, not just the high-end stuff that he normally specializes in. And so as that stuff gets kind of turned over and sold, I accrue some credit at the store, and then this came along, and I said, aha, let's cash in the credit. So I did, and here is this. Now, again, it's the Gurian, built by Michael Gurian in Hinsdale, New Hampshire, and it's got a fan bracing. Okay, not cross or X bracing or whatever they call that. He was originally a classical guitar builder, so he built these guitars with the same bracing system that you would put in a classical guitar, and that's where I think the tone comes from, and the sustain, and the bloom, and whatever else they call it, the blossoming of the sound. It's still ringing, by the way. I can still hear it in there. So it's the prices of these have not kept up with the Martins and the Gibsons. Even the Taylors, the new Taylors are a lot more than this was. But, for me personally, having always wanted one of these guitars, could never get one. I had to settle for a Guild D50 in 1978, which I still have, and which we are going to bring on the show here, the channel, to give you a little demonstration of the Guild D50. That guitar has been my quintessential workhorse, and I have performed hundreds of shows with it, and it has held up. I only had I had 2 episodes with that guitar that were like crazy. The first one happened at a place called the 930 Club in Washington, D.C., and I was opening for Sean Colvin, and I was doing a tour opening for Sean, and I was in the dressing room before I had to go on to the 930 Club, getting ready, and I tuned up the guitar, the Guild D50, and one of the tuning pegs broke in my hand, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do now? I'm on in 10 minutes, okay? I only traveled with one guitar. I was sitting in the exact same room under the Ford Theater where Booth came after shooting Abraham Lincoln and hid. I was probably sitting in the exact same spot where Booth had sat, you know, and I'm just tuning up my guitar, getting ready to play my songs at the 930 Club, and the tuning peg, which has never been a problem in, like, you know, 30 years of owning this guitar, it decides to break. So I scrambled. I was able to locate a screwdriver, and I was able to pry off the cap on the back of the tuning peg. You see, they were sealed. You know, it was like similar to this. And I got the cap off, and I'm like breaking out into a cold sweat, you know. And you know, Sean's manager is there that night, and I'm like, you know, I'm scared to death and everything. And I got the cap off, and sure enough, the screw holding the gear on the tuning peg had worked its way out after 30 years, okay, or 25 years. So I screwed it all back in, put the cap back on, literally ran out on stage. The rest was a total blur. The other episode with that guitar occurred at the Kerrville Folk Festival, which I was not scheduled to play on stage, but I had left my guitar in my tent during the day, and when I came back for an evening of song, the bridge of the guitar had come off in the heat. It was so hot that it had melted the glue that held the bridge on my guitar. That was the Guild. So I had to take it back to a luthier and have it fixed. Anyway, this guitar is not going to endure any of that kind of stuff, believe me. This does not even have a button to put the strap onto, and I'm not putting one on it. I'm leaving this guitar exactly the way it is. It's got a button back here. I probably will not use this guitar playing out live. It has no electronics. Don't want electronics in this guitar. But I will use it to write, and I will use it to record. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how it sounds as a recording guitar. And my guess is it's going to sound like really great. That's my guess. So with that, I want to say thank you for tuning in. If you see a Gurian, a real Gurian, and it's not exorbitantly priced, pick it up, especially if it's in great shape, because they used Michael Gurian used like really, really top grade wood when he built these guitars. His original gig was as a exotic wood dealer, and then I guess after he got out of building guitars, he went back to being a wood dealer, selling wood to other guitar makers. So if you're listening out there, Michael Gurian, thank you for being a great luthier. This is part of our Love Your Local Luthier series. Last week was Jamie Ransom's homemade, handmade, hand-carved guitars, beautiful acoustic guitar. This is a much older instrument, but it was handmade, hand-carved, homemade by Michael Gurian, and it's a keeper. This one's going to stay here for a long long time, as long as I'm around anyway. So I'll play a little going out. Let's do that. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit join, subscribe, comment, share, comment, like, all of that stuff. And we'll see you next time. Ta-ta.